So start read.
Yeah. But 1 second, I'm just ensuring. Yeah, it started recording. Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai. You can
Bhakti
start
Jai.
reading, Ravi. How to Love God.
Yeah. How to love God. To love God in the most practical way is to love our fellow beings. If we feel for others in the same way as we feel for our own dear ones, we love God. If instead of seeing faults in others, we look within ourselves, we are loving God. If instead of robbing others to help ourselves, we rob ourselves to help others, we are loving God. If we suffer in the suffering of others and feel happy in the happiness of others, we are loving God. If instead of worrying over our own misfortunes, we think of ourselves more fortunate than many others, we are loving God. If we endure our lot with patience and contentment, accepting it as His will, we are loving God. If we understand and feel that the greatest act of devotion and worship to God is not to hurt or harm any of His beings, we are loving God. To love God as He ought to be loved, we must live for God and die for God, knowing that the goal of all life is to love God and find Him as our own self. Avatar Meher Baba ki Jai. Today I
Avatar
was
Meher Baba Ki Jai. Yeah. Go ahead, Ravi.
today I
Say
was
something.
listening to Irich's talk, and then he talked about how to love God. So Baba was going from place to place, and he didn't mention where exactly. So Baba was giving speeches. I am God in the human form. Love is the most important. Love God. Try to see God in everyone. Love God. And then he went to number of places. At one place, one young man stood up and asked Baba, Baba, how to love God? That is when Baba asked him, are you married? And then series of questions. That is when this document, How to Love God, came up, it seems.
Wonderful.
Jeva.
That's nice to know. So, by the way, I stopped sharing my screen because there's Samadhi live from Singapore. Well, she's beaming from on her TV, I guess. So I thought we should take a quick glimpse. Thank you, Namita ji.
Jai
With
Baba.
that,
Thank you,
with
Baba.
that, thank you, Baba. Now we go to uh, see where we are. We are actually we have finished 29 sessions. We're doing session number 30. Last time, Baba was at the Kumbh, which is very topical, given Kumbh Mela, the recurrence of it just finished a few weeks back in India. So now let's get to the continuation from that point. So, okay. So, anybody wants to start by reading? Who's comfortable and ready to
Jai
read right
Baba, I
away?
would like to. Jai Baba, can I read?
Excellent. Sure, please go ahead.
Okay.
By the way, you also requested readings about the ebook, I think. So
Yeah.
we'll talk about that and plan it. Yeah, I saw the
Jai
message after I got connected. Yeah,
Jai Baba, thank you.
Jai Baba.
Omnis Jai Baba, I will start in Baba's name. Omniscience without knowledge. These regular visits to Hardwar bring to mind another incident depicting Baba's role as a seeker. In the Mela grounds, he bowed down and touched the feet of sadhus, whether pseudo or real, sitting or standing by the roadside. He also visited the ashrams located on the banks of the Ganges. During one such visit, as he reverently bowed to the head of an ashram, Baba was offered some prasad. He, however, turned away swiftly, as he always did after each contact, unwittingly not accepting the prasad. At the end of day's program, before returning to Motichur, Baba conveyed to his companions, I feel I should have accepted the prasad then and there. That was offered by the Mahant. Erich replied, what do you think is right, Baba? I personally feel that in the spirit of the new life, uh, sh- should I personally feel that in the spirit of the new life, it should have been accepted. Upon this, Baba asked Erich if he could find that particular ashram and meet the person again. Erich assured Baba that he could and accordingly met the Mahant again. Erich apologized on behalf of his elder brother Baba for not accepting the prasad. The Mahant was pleased to re-offer it. This was later distributed by Baba in a devotional mode to his companions. Whatever role Baba assumed, he played it to perfection. This reminds me of Baba's words Sadguru acts, avatar becomes. It is believed by some Indians that, though very rare, witnessing the mating of crows is a sign that foretells the death of a person very dear to the observer. Once, while Baba was on his daily march to Haridwar with the four companions, one of them witnessed such a mating. Knowing this, Baba, like an ordinary superstitious person, seemed very concerned over this matter. He asked the companions what should be done to avert the death of a close one. Fortunately, every superstitious peril has its own amusing antidote. As Baba seemed very grave, it was agreed that the death of someone should be announced in order to avert real physical. Uh, Baba suggested that as he was Baba
Uh,
suggested
it's announced the death. So the line concludes as avert real physical death.
that
And then Baba suggested, yeah.
Baba suggested that
Jai Baba,
as he
uh, I just wanted to point out something which came to my mind. It's quite the heading is quite a little enigmatic, controversial because it says omniscience without knowledge. Omniscient means uh, all knowledgeful. If you can go to the heading,
Yeah, yeah. The section is
it,
called
it,
Omniscience Without Knowledge. Yeah, it's
it is
intriguing.
it's an oxymoron,
yes, correct,
Yes.
correct.
and to us
But
all morons.
let's find
Baba
out. I'm sure it has relevance.
Yeah,
Bal Natu would not have used that without reason.
there's some reason there, so it's intriguing. It's interesting.
Yes, yes. Even more interesting is this telegram. Let's go.
Yes.
Baba
Baba
suggested
suggested.
that as he was the dearest person to them all, his name should be sent in a telegram to a person connected with the new life activities. Irich suggested that Baba's name would be too much of a shock to that person, and in case that person immediately communicated his news to Adi at Ahmednagar, who generally circulated news about Baba to his disciples and devotees, it would cause serious complications. In the end, it was agreed that Pendu's name should be used and that a little later another wire would be sent cancelling the news of Pendu's death. Could anyone imagine that the deathless one would express such concern about someone dropping his body? Accordingly, a telegram was sent from Haridwar to a Baba lover in Delhi. But strangely enough, the first telegram was received after the second, and instead of any confusion, it gave the family members a good laugh. This revealed to them the absurdity behind such a superstition. Do we not know that devoid of any hypocrisy, birds live a natural and simple life? They are not lustful like men, who are often overpowered by lust. But what an irony that man, who is the crown of creation, claims that the bird's playfulness and innocent passion predicts an evil happening. Having lust Having lust is entirely different from being lustful. Through this whole affair, though, is it through this whole affair, it seems that Baba has very skillfully disclosed the foolishness embedded in any superstition. In the new life, Baba has had become an ordinary seeker, but it cannot be denied that all the happenings during this phase had their origin in his divine wisdom. Baba's new life expressed his omniscience without knowledge and omnipotence without power. Baba
But
returns to
I have a question here. How is it different? Having lust is entirely different from being lustful. So we're talking about the sanskaras of lust here.
I think it's more semantics. I think the references about the birds having their natural desire to mate versus the human lustfulness, which is more protracted and not just at procreation, and it's and so on and so forth. So I would see it as that. Of course, the sanskaric angle is there. It's not. I'm not saying no to that, Ravi. But
Because well, most of the human beings, majority of them have lust to procreate. Not only lust means, I think, maybe I'm wrong, to have excess desire for any sensual
anything.
desires, whether eating or listening to the music or good sense and touch. That includes sexual feelings also. Getting thoughts is different from pursuing the thoughts. That's what I'm thinking. Getting thoughts is directly related to sanskaras. Pursuing the thought is being lustful. That's what I'm thinking.
Jai Baba Ravi, you see,
Mhm.
between thought, word, and deed, you can think about it, you can speak about it, you can do it. The degree of sanskaras which are generated are uh, higher in doing, lesser in words, and the least in thoughts. Is what there's a pyramid sort of a thing with
Yeah. If we, if
sanskaras.
we, if we,
If
see,
you
getting
indulge,
thoughts is different from continue to think about it, right? That is the third part of it.
yeah, the thoughts can be like clouds; they come and go. That's one part. Or you can have a continuous. If you are overpowered by something or overwhelmed by something, then you have continuous thoughts. So it's like the clouds which stay. I mean, the thoughts are like, or thoughts can come and go, but the intensity of sanskara generated, it is somewhere in the discourses. Is, you know, the thoughts create the least intensity, words create a little higher intensity of sanskaras, and doing or action creates the highest level of
Yeah,
sanskaras.
there's no doubt about it what you say. But having lust is entirely different from being lustful. Being lustful is action, right? Being lustful, encouraging those thoughts. Thoughts come because of the sanskaras. Thoughts because of the past actions, past collection of lustful thoughts, action, deeds. But now those thoughts come because of those sanskaras, as long as we have a body.
Yes. So being
And
lustful would mean
being lustful means acting.
acting.
That's
Yes.
what you're talking about.
Yes. Yes. This is my uh, thoughts and
Either you
interpretation.
leave it thinking and leave it, or are you encouraging to continue to think about it, or are you practicing it? That's all your choice, our choice.
That's how I get it. But I'm happy to hear from others if different
Hmm.
interpretation.
Actually,
Karthik?
that's a nice interpretation, a Baba interpretation, I would say, because you're taking what Baba has told us on sanskaras and applying it to this phrase. But I think it's more a simpler. Mm, I would go to discourses where Baba talks about, and again, I'm given the context that we are reading this paragraph in. I'm focusing only on the lust aspect because I'm not taking gluttony and greed into that. I'm only focusing on the lust for procreation, lust for touch, lust for whatever, only towards sex. If you take that into account, I believe that Baba's prescription is very clear, right? So it is. He says his rules are whatever he says in reincarnation and karma about man and woman. So I think if we follow those ground rules, then you're not being lustful, right? And you're managing your lust. You're managing your behavior of lust in the right way. That's what I would say, right? Is there any other points of view?
Yeah, I think the lust would also mean the lust for food, power. I mean, lust is a intense
Yes, yes.
form.
Intense desire, greed,
Lust
greed.
is connected
I
with
mean,
the
not
sensual organs. Lust is
correct.
connected with the sensual organs.
So
Taste. I want to have a tasty food. Go for that. Is a lust. Listening to the music, smell, and touch. These are all the senses, right? When you are trying to derive the pleasure out of these interactions with the external objects, that's what the definition of lust is comes into.
if I can simplify it, excess of anything is bad is a overriding principle. Excess of food or excess of anything is bad. That's all. A
Mm.
simple.
Excess is anything is bad. Yeah.
We just have a balance, or I think excess is
No.
bad. That I think that is what I take away. Others can.
I think we talked enough. Let's
Yeah,
proceed.
I know. Mamaji has his hands up. That's the last input.
Uh, uh, as for lust and lustful, there is a lot of gap or distinction. Lust as a part of biological need for a continuation of the creed or say generations and other things. That's an inbuilt on the body. But when you attach the mind with that constantly, then it is lustful. So lust is in phases. So comes in phase of the life that is natural. After retaining or pestering you with the thought of that is very much lustful. So that is the distinction I make. Jai Baba.
Okay, Babu.
Also
Thank
a
Yeah,
good
you.
interpretation. I
the
have a question now. Yeah, go ahead,
not
Namita
point,
ji.
but
After you.
I liked what he refers as crown of creation. Man is a crown of creation. It's a point to be noted that we are on top of everything, and yet there are these little things that kind of derail us and just bring us down. I like the use of word a crown of creation.
Yeah, I like that too. The pinnacle of evolution. Yes.
And very
Uh, so What about the title? Ashok, you had a question on the title. Is the question addressed?
Yeah,
Can you show
it's
the
more or less.
title? Can you show the title?
Omniscience, science without knowledge.
Can you scroll down to see the title, please?
Yeah.
Glimpse of God, omniscience without knowledge.
So,
Omniscience without knowledge. What does it mean? Omniscience means infinite knowledge, right? Having infinite knowledge.
Yes.
Without knowledge. Contradicting it.
no,
Okay.
why it is given like that probably is that in the new life you give up everything. Baba has become the most ordinary of the ordinary and posing as though he is without knowledge.
Hmm.
So that
In the
is the
makes sense.
probable purport here.
Perfect. So if you see the last
Yeah.
line
Good point.
that
Yes, last
if you
sentence
see that
explains this.
explains that. Perfect. So I'll go to
Yeah.
the last
See,
sentence
God
that
man,
explains it.
yeah, God man becomes human, man God acts, right? Perfect master
Yes,
acts, whereas avatar becomes the man.
becomes.
Hmm.
Hmm. That's very good point. So do I start reading?
Yes.
I,
Next section. Yeah.
Baba returns to the headquarters. Baba and the companions visited Haridwar each day from Motichur. Aloba stayed at home, but he was not keeping well. So Baba allowed Kumar to send a young boy from the hills to guard the house and also to cook. Glimpses of the God man. Cook the evening meal. This lad named Satpal was simple and sincere in his work. He once expressed his concern about the poor quality of the meals that all of them had. He suggested that at least a teaspoonful of ghee should be served with the food. Baba approved the suggestion. The next day, the companions were allowed to purchase a tin of ghee and they carried it to the headquarters. The first evening, Satpal served each one a spoonful of ghee, and all felt happy about the added flavor and nourishment. During the meal, Baba smiled and casually warned the boy to take care of the tin. The next evening, to the surprise of all, no ghee was served. Baba inquired about the boy sorrowfully, told him that there was no ghee left in the tin. The details which he gave later were amusing. A stray dog, lured by the fascinating smell of ghee, stealthily entered the room and carried away the tin. In his attempt to open the lid, he knocked the tin over, and in the hot sun, the ghee soon flowed out to be licked up by the dogs. When Satpal noticed the tin was missing, he first searched for it in the house. Finally, he found it dirty and almost empty outside. Hearing this, Baba had a meaningful smile. He did not get angry at all with Satpal. It seemed that in the new life, discomforts could not be avoided. The new life song of the companions reads, We We are merrily singing the song of happiness. We are inviting all
Helplessness.
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 helplessness. We are inviting all calamities and difficulties. On another occasion, Satpal felt that after this strenuous wanderings on foot, the Baba party needed at least a tasty meal. However, he dared not suggest anything extra be served, and certainly not ghee. He knew that they were not having enough milk in their tea, not to mention fruit or any other nutriment. But there was no question of changing the menu, much less preparing a feast. Even so, Satpal once devised a way to serve them a better meal. On that day, the companions raised the dal and
Relished.
relish the dal and praise Satpal for its preparation.
If I can pause you here, on the previous section, there was one more thing to take away. So, in that episode of the Telegram and the Crow, we got lost in the phrase lust and lustful. But I have a more important question. So, what is the takeaway? Why did this happen? What? Let's go over the sequence of steps. So, somebody points out the superstition. Baba starts the discussion about the superstition, and he actually says, how do I ward it off? Or how do we all ward it off? Or how do we avoid that superstition from occurring? And then he suggests first that his death is announced, that is, Baba's death is announced. And everybody advises against that. And then they finally pick Pendu, and amusingly, the telegram announcing that it was a fake announcement arrives first, and then the announcement about the death arrives later, right? So, in all this, what do we take away in this episode of the new life?
Baba is helping us understand that superstitions are created by minds. They don't have any depth or meaning. So, through example, he
Absolutely.
proved it wrong that superstitions have any space in his work or in his world.
No,
Absolutely. Absolutely. So,
the other point here is Baba could have plainly said superstition is not correct or it doesn't have any substance. But he created a situation for people to understand fairly well by creating a storyline and
Mm.
also an eventful thing where the end result is realization by each one
learning.
learning.
Yeah, I think well summarized. I think Mama, you hit the nail on the head. So
Yes.
that's what he wanted. So he played along or created this opportunity to introduce this learning. And also the most important part, like the title suggests, he is trying, he's not trying, he is becoming as human as possible by even
Mm.
indulging in such things. I do not think, other than the new life, we may see such episodes. Okay, let's continue.
Stay
Now it's
at.
ghee time.
Hmm.
Ghee and milk. Yeah.
Where can you point? I don't know which one.
However,
Where?
I just moved up to the first page,
Okay.
next page.
However,
However,
okay. However, after a few hours, all of them began to feel uneasy in their stomachs and developed diarrhea. They sensed that something must have been wrong with the food. They called Satpal and asked him what he had done. He explained that to make the dal rich in nutrition, he had soaked it in sweet oil before he cooked it. The good intention of the cook made the dal very tasty, but it also acted as a light purgative. From then on, Satpal never thought of preparing any other dish than the usual food. Throughout this day, Aloba was particularly not feeling well. It was hard for him to digest any food. He fasted for some days, but this made him weaker, and once he fainted near the bathroom. The entire stay at Motichur was very tough and rigid. Various various were the ta- various were the tastes and tests in the new life. Tastes and tests. Baba sharing them with one and all as the real companion. While Baba was thoroughly engrossed in his work with the sadhus and the like, a few security officers were busy gathering information about Baba's activities from the companions residing at Manjari Mafi. The officers felt curious about the nature of Baba's work. They wanted to ascertain whether it had any anti-social or communist bias to it. Baba had instructed his people to abide by the laws of the government. So they willingly furnished the authorities with the necessary information about Baba's external activities. They were soon convinced that Baba's work posed no threat either to the government or to its policies. Dr. Donkin, who had accepted Plan 1B, was at Dehradun practicing medicine. He was allowed by Baba to communicate the new life activities to Elizabeth Patterson, residing at Myrtle Beach in South Carolina in the States. In March 1950, he wrote her as follows: As far as Baba's new life goes, not one of us new companions can make head or tail of it. Even the third plan, people now with Baba do not expect it to be there long, and Baba has openly told them that he does not want them with him. It is all a mystery, and again a mystery, and very different both for those who are with Baba and those away from him. I went into Plan B, taking a temporary job, since that is what I felt Baba wanted me to do. But whether it is a frightful waste of money, I really don't know. Also, I don't know, as you can realize, how long Baba will let me keep at it practicing medicine in Dehradun, whether for a month, a year, or a lifetime. As far as Baba himself goes, he is as adorable as ever. This excerpt from the letter,
1 second. Yeah, that came from the Awakener, Volume 7, 1960, page 19. Yeah.
the excerpt from the letter is enough to express the
The
unpredictability
unpredictability.
of the new life. On April 4th, Baba left for Belwara to continue the work of bowing to the mendicants and sages. At the end of his visit, Pendu, the scorekeeper, declared that the grand total of holy men so far contacted had reached 10,000. Oh my God! Baba seemed pleased to hear this. Before coming to Motichur, he had it in mind to contact personally a large number of those who had come from Kumbh Mela. Reaching the residence, he conveyed to the companions that the purpose of his stay at Motichur was accomplished and expressed his intention of returning to Manjira Mafi the next day. Rustaji, Erich, Baidul, and Aloba were to follow 2 days later. Pandu and Murli were to drive the one ox cart drawn by Raja, carrying the belongings and other sundry things of Baba's party. One of the companions accompanied Baba to Majri Mafi and returned. Thus, a very wearing yet greatly significant stay at Motichur was over.
So Motichur is near Hardwar, and Hardwar itself is not very far from Dehradun. Yeah. Yes,
And
uh,
Nanaji.
10,000 sadhus he touched their feet or,
yes,
came
yes.
in contact. It's
Yes.
unimaginable.
Mind-boggling.
Only God can do this. Unbelievable. Leaving
And what is
Manjari,
Yeah.
the and what is the significance or learning for us from this? Why did Baba do this?
his
I
ways,
would
he
say,
knows.
I would say to give them a push
Yeah,
Yeah,
wherever the state they are in,
yes,
they are elevated to little higher states.
yes.
But what I was told, I mean, what happened was, even though there are 100,000, more than 100,000 sadhus Baba touched in so many days, I think per day is 10,000. There are only three
Wow.
real people who are in involution. Involutions. Yeah, not all of them. They're all in gross plane.
no,
Yeah.
no,
That,
This is a statistic you mentioned earlier.
yes,
So
Mm.
The total number is even more mind-boggling. So if you go back to Wayfarers, I think the total contact that was made over the years is I think 20 or 25,000 overall,
Wow.
right?
Mm.
But so this episode or this period, Pendu's count is 10,000, which itself is huge.
No,
But
10,000
I
per day.
agree.
I think
No, I don't
10,000
think
per
it was
day,
per
if I
day.
remember
I don't
right.
think it was per day. No, I don't think it was per day.
Total, I
Uh,
feel.
it was 10, yeah,
Total,
total. It was total.
Moti visit is 10,000. I feel so. I don't know.
Yes.
That's
So far contacted. Yeah. It does not mention the
per day.
grand
No,
total of the holy men so far contacted. Yeah.
I'm thinking
Anyway,
per day
I think
possible. Per day, is it possible to see 10,000 people like that? It's a
yes,
bit
in a darshan format you can, but Baba was
Bending.
it's anyway not
Baba was
per day,
bending and
right?
touching
So
the feet. Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, I agree with what Mamaji said. I mean, the comment on how it was to give a spiritual push, but the full reasoning and universal work logic, or Baba's reasoning and logic for why he did that as the avatar, is probably difficult to comprehend. I'm sure there is a purpose. Everything that he has done was with a purpose, including the new life phase itself. What was the exact impact on creation, and and why that needed to be done at that time? We don't know. We can only speculate about it, right? So that's my reading. Right?
Absolutely
Okay.
correct, Karthik, because it's beyond our comprehension. Because what the avatar does, we can see, but there can be a latent or a hidden, uh, you know, purpose behind it, which is very hard to comprehend and to realize.
And additionally, I do not think he has done anything without a purpose. Every single step and action, episode, telegram,
Yeah.
gesture had some particular significance or
Purpose.
meaning behind it, no doubt.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
also putting all of us morons together.
Including, yes,
Yes,
that included.
and
So,
we all should also realize that Baba is, since we are more than three or four, there are eight people on this call, so Baba's presence is there with us.
Of course. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
of course.
Should I continue
Uh,
reading?
maybe we can rotate. Thank you so much. I just want to make sure others get a chance as well.
Yes, of course.
Ashok
And
ji, I know you went out and came back. Your connection is stable. Do you want to
Yeah, it's
continue
stable
reading for
now.
some time?
Is my voice clear?
Yes. Maybe you can
So,
read for 15, 20 minutes and then we
yeah,
can
yeah.
rotate again.
And
Thank you so much, Namita ji. You should read more often.
yes, lovely
Jai
reading.
Baba, yeah.
Avatar Meher Baba ki Jai. Leaving Manjari Mafi, 1950, Part 4. Participation in Baba's suffering. On April 5th, Baba returned to Manjari Mafi at noon. Those staying at the headquarters rejoiced at Baba's arrival. He visited the men's quarters in the afternoon. All were happy to hear that Baba's work at the Kumbh Mela was accompanied to his satisfaction. He felt especially delighted at this achievement because they knew how hard he had to exert himself in contacting the spiritual wayfarers in spite of his frail health. Dr. Nilkanth Neelu wrote, Baba looked tired and overworked. He appeared to drag his feet. While making inquiries, he was frequently coughing. Though he was not in good health, his face was lustrous and his eyes were brilliant. His face looked so beautiful and charming that our eyes refused to look anywhere. Cross reference one.
I think
Is it one
that
or
is the reference. it is a cross reference, but then they forgot to put the number here.
Okay,
So
no,
just read this out. Yeah.
it's just that. Okay, I continue. Some hours later, it saddened them to find Baba fatigued and worn out. Next day, when he arrived, he looked more radiant and agile, but in fact, he had had no sleep due to a fever and cough. He discussed with Kumar the practicality of staying at Manjari Mafi during the impending rainy monsoon season. With the first showers, puddles of water were forming in the surrounding area. This informal discussion was a prelude to Baba's decision to soon leave that place for good. Baba's indifferent health worried the companions. Baba's personal doctor, Goher, consulted Donkin and Nilu about possible treatment and precautions they should take.
There was a cross reference here.
Oh, so
Uh, circular New Life Circular number 8, issued on 23/5/1950. That is what this was quoted from, right? And for some strange reason, the font size has changed between this and this, but it's basically continuation of the text. There's no difference.
yeah,
Yeah. So we are continuing from. Can you just read this last line again so that there's no confusion?
okay. Baba's personal doctor, Goher, consulted Donkin and Nilu about possible treatment and precautions they should take. The doctors always did their best for Baba, but the results depended mostly on Baba's inner spiritual work. The internal crucifixion will not necessarily be mitigated by the administration of an external prescription. The companions, too, one way or the other, seemed to participate in Baba's sufferings. They were allowed only one meal a day, consisting of chapatis and dal. The only variation permitted was to have some vegetables instead of dal. In the evening, milkless tea was served. The weather and living accommodations did not suit them, and they were not used to such a life. Yet, the morale of the companions was high, and they cheerfully tried to obey each of Baba's instructions. Nevertheless, their physical bodies had to bear various afflictions and ailments. After all, they were made of clay. The following paragraph from Nilu's diary is sufficient to give an accurate picture. On April 9, he writes, the new life is now nearly 6 months old, and during this period, the companions had undergone such trials and tribulations and certain ordeals that their general health was not only much affected, but it had given each of them a certain infirmity. Pendu with pleurisy and pain in the chest, Erach with lumbago, pleurisy means inflation of the pleural, which impairs their lubricating function and causes pain when breathing. It is caused by pneumonia and other diseases of the chest or abdomen. Karthik, can you uh, remove that?
No. Sorry, I was on mute. I was asking Mamaji if pleure means lungs. I think so. I don't know.
No,
Anyway.
pleura is the layer covering the lungs, the outer layer.
Okay, okay. Okay.
So in between
Covering
the
the lung.
lung mass and the pleura, there will be a slight fluid, and
Okay.
the movement of the lung brushes on the outer filament which is covering it. So with
Okay.
some inflammation, there can be a lot of irritation and that leads to cough and all that.
Thank you. Yeah.
I,
Erich with lumbago.
I'll read again from Pendu because it's a
Sure.
break. Pendu with pleurisy and pain in the chest. Erich with lumbago and sprained foot, which was becoming chronic. Murli with broken wrist joint, still weakened by the labor. Vishnu crippled down with a rheumatic knee joint. Neelu with sciatica and left knee joint trouble due to water carrying duty. Ali Akbar Alova, weakened and fatigued by fever, water carrying and another hard labor. Kaka with his chest trouble. Baidul with all sorts of body ailments. And Gustaji with his old age and increasing weakness. Wow. Individual suffering and ill health may not mean much, but the collective result of the whole party's illness is not very cheerful and bright. This weariness is due to natural and unnatural circumstances, due to normal and abnormal circumstances. In spite of all this, one could easily observe the genuine attempt the companions were making to maintain a cheerful face with jokes and humor among themselves. It is true that companions have their innocent and harmless faults and weaknesses. And why? Because they are simple human beings, and beyond that, they do not claim anything. The cross reference one is circular NL8, New Life Circular 8. The above mentioned facts bring out how hard it was to stay with Baba in his new life phase. In the old life, Baba would express great concern over the slightest sickness of any of his dear ones, and now, for the most part, he seemed unconcerned about it. As for one's relationship with the beloved master, one of the Urdu poets has aptly stated, "O beloved, in our first meeting, how lovingly you spoke to me and stole my heart. But now, O thief of thieves, you are withdrawing yourself, not even casting a sideways glance at me." In spiritual life, a short spring can usher in a long drawn out autumn. What a strange inversion! And this phase entails an integral internal tug of war sustained only by the grace of the Master's companionship. I take a pause here if anybody wants to, because it's very, that in old life and new life, Baba had a different format for people, but obviously the sufferings was towards reduction of their sanskaras, is what I can interpret. Any comments, Karthik, or should I continue?
Yeah, if there are no comments from others, we can continue. But I have nothing.
Yeah. Okay. It's just I just expressed my thoughts. Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah, absolutely.
The beginning of the new plan, April 11th, 1950, was one of the important days for the companions. From Baba's casual remarks, they had gathered that there was going to be a major change in the course of the new life. From the beginning of the meeting held on that day, the atmosphere was serious and fraught with doubtful expectations. Baba looked very solemn. He was curt in admonishing the companions for the slightest mistakes they had committed. When Baba was conveying anything, the eyes of his companions were fixed on his face and gestures. If he gave a severe look to anyone by way of a rebuke, the heart of the recipient seemed to jump into his throat. To live with Baba implied one's readiness not only to enjoy the soothing glow of his radiance, but also to bear its blazing glare. Sorry. Every activity of the new life was strictly conducted. according to Baba's orders. At times, in spite of the utmost care, the companions had to yield to Baba's severe criticism. In Baba's new life, it seemed that that a little violation of his instructions on the part of his closer ones resulted in a hindrance, like the anti-clockwise movement of a cog in the subtle operation of his work on the inner planes. Baba's reprimand or anger was a compensating as well as a comforting factor, for it was meant to relieve the companions from any harm that might come to them through disobedience. So it can well be termed another aspect of his compassion.
It's a beautiful way of interpreting the master, right? Even the act of rebuke or behavior which is uncomfortable to the disciple, strong rebuke, strong admonishment, even that is an act of compassion, uh, Bal Natu says.
Yeah.
Absolutely. In his meeting to avoid future lapses on the part of those who were with Baba, he decided to free them from the three phases: begging, gypsy, and lavoti life. He wished them to lead only the labor phase. He reserved the three phases for himself. With gentle, piercing eyes and a serene, unworldly expression on his face, Baba conveyed from the board the following: I feel that every one of you in Plan 3 is trying his best to carry out the conditions 100%. But to carry out Plan 3 seems impossible under circumstances due to the gulf that exists between you and me in the matter of understanding while executing the conditions. I, sorry, I repeat it again. I therefore decide today that from 1st May 1950, none of you remain in Plan 3. I shall remain alone to carry out the three phases of new life of Plan 3, and I order you, all companions of Plan 3 and 1B, to join a new plan which will enable you to earn your livelihood and yet make you stay in one group near me. My help in the form of guidance I shall give as far as possible to make this new plan a success. Cross reference 2. Again, the New Life 8 circular. Paul willingly agreed to execute his plan, and Baba's beautiful face looked more pleased and tranquil. Dr. Donkin suggested that if Dr. Neelu were allowed to work with him as a colleague and Pendu and Murli were permitted to assist him, then he would open a clinic that would easily maintain the whole party. Baba liked his idea, but it was kept pending for lack of funds. In his meeting, he told all that it did not seem practical for him to continue his stay at Manjari Mafi and he intended to shift Delhi. For further discussion, he wished to hold another meeting on April 15th. Blessed hours at Kumbh Mela. While recounting the events that took place during the stay at Motichur, Baba told the companions who had stayed at Manjari Mafi about a large crowd of sadhus of different sects. They had assembled at Hardwar from various parts of India. They represented a fantastic cross section of the different sects of the Hindu traditions. They camped on both banks of the Ganges, eagerly waiting the most eventful day of the Kumbh Mela. It fell on April 13th. All of them were supposed to bathe in the holy river during a specified. Can you just mark the during a specific time? The various groups exhibited widely divergent ways of living. Some were costly costumes, while some put on threadbare robes, and few had no clothes on at all. Some with large and heavy bodies, smeared with ash and matted hair reaching their knees, proudly paraded through the streets, while others with shaven heads and lanky frames meekly moved on the roads without any glamour or show about them. Indeed, it was a heterogeneous multitude assembled with the motive of quickening the journey to heaven. Baba proposed and decided to take all the men and women companions to Hardwar for this particular vision of Purna Kumbh. Any thoughts or comments? Because we just finished the Kumbh Mela.
Yeah,
Accordingly,
Yeah,
let's read on.
I have a thought which is currently running for the last two sessions of this reading. So, in contrast to the Kumbh Mela at the Prayagraj and these chapters that we are reading, so I feel that going to Kumbh Mela for each one has some reason or the other. He is propelled to go there. And say Baba has bowed down to 10,000 people. So this bowing down is to bless them, whereas we as mortals may bow down to a master to get blessed, to have the grace of them. So it's a sort of a perplexing thing. So in Kumbh Mela, I don't know which master gazes at some disciple at a distance and gives him a blessing, or which devotee experiences the ecstasy of meeting his master or getting a untold way of blessing. So it's a conglomeration of so many things. We can think Kumbh Mela with all these backgrounds. When we read this and they go through our mind with those 48 days of Kumbh Mela, which we read and understood, and some participated also. So it's a very perplexing thing to mix these two, this reading and Baba's presence in Kumbh Mela, making it a relevant understanding of what is Kumbh Mela. Jai Baba.
Very true, very interesting. And for someone who didn't make it, I think you did the right analogy and comparison of the two things. As someone who attended, I felt that it is something to be experienced. I mean, you really can't describe the entire atmosphere of this, right? So there can be videos, there can be stuff that happens, but it's a I have never been in a crowd that's so large, never in my life, and I think that's natural. Nobody can. There's no other bigger agglomeration of people, of human beings, other than this. Second, I think there was strange sense of what should I say? Mm, 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 an excitement. Everybody's waiting to see something, waiting to do something, or they're excited about something bigger. Third, I think there was a kind of uh, anticipation of. I mean, overall, there's so many emotions that I experienced in those 3 4 days. But if you remember, Mamaji, our Meher Baba trip of, I mean, with the Bombay gang to Banaras, it was
Banaras.
something like that. It was something like that. It was amazing to uh, uh, imbibe the vibes uh,
Yes,
that one experiences in this. So it was very, very, very nice personally for me.
yes.
Jai Baba. Shokji, we can continue.
yeah,
It's the key day of Kumbh Mela.
yes.
This is one day before now. Yeah, go ahead.
Accordingly, on April 12th, Baba left Manjri Mafi for Hardwar in a station wagon with Erich and the women companions. Those remaining left the headquarters the next day by the morning train, walking 5 miles to reach the station. At Hardwar, Baba stayed in the mansion situated on the bank of the river. On the second day, he sent Erich to Neeldhara, a particular spot with special instructions to fetch water from the Ganges. A day later, on April 13th, Baba took a bath with that water, and when all the companions arrived, he summoned them to him. He asked Tonkin to read out a prayer which was similar to the one at Banaras before he stepped out for the first Viksha. After the prayer, he touched the feet of every companion with his hands. A most serene atmosphere always prevailed on such occasions. Baba seemed to pray like others, but it was never like others' prayers. It was matchless. Wow. As if to get over this solemn mood, Baba led all to the terrace which offered a panoramic view. They saw crowds of gay pilgrims on both banks of the Ganges and the distant blue mountains. After midday, the great procession of the Kumbh Mela was in sight. It was led by Nangas, followed by different Mahants. The dust raised by thousands of people marching prevented a clear view. Nearly 1 million people had assembled there from distant parts of India. Man wants to travel externally, while God wants him to journey eternally within himself. What a paradox. Karthik, we can underline the last line because it's got a lot of meaning. Man wants
Sure.
to travel externally, while God wants him to journey internally with himself. Yeah, thank you. The The auspicious hours of Kumbh bathing were in the afternoon. During this time, Baba sometimes strolled on the balcony. It has been observed that occasionally, when Baba found it hard to bear the burden of his inner work, he would walk briskly up and down the room. On the terrace of that house, Baba sometimes stood and looked at the pilgrims and sadhus through a pair of binoculars. As the banks of the river were not very close to the house, was he contacting certain persons through these frequent appearances? This seems quite possible because one of Baba's dear ones, Keshav Nigam, later recounted his wonderful experience of the day he had had beloved Baba's first darshan at Mehrabad in August 1949. The first glimpse of Baba set his heart aflame to see him again. But this had become impossible as Baba had entered the new life and did not allow any of his disciples or devotees to see him. Keshav came to know about Baba's stay at Dehradun from Baba Das, who on his own had selected Plan 1C. Now, Keshav could not restrain himself from visiting Hardwar, where he expected Baba during the Kumbh fair, and luckily he had Baba's darshan too. His heart swelled with delight, and his eyes were filled with adoration as he gazed at the brilliance of Baba's radiant face. About this incident, Keshav wrote, I made a pilgrimage to Hardwar during the Kumbh. For me, Kumbh bathing meant nothing but a chance to take Baba's darshan. At that time, Baba Das was with us. With his help, I was able to reach the bank of the Ganges Canal. On the opposite bank stood the building in whose upper story Baba was staying alone with his new life companions. Sometimes Baba would come out of the room, stand on the balcony, and look at the thousands of pilgrims through binoculars. Sometimes he would stroll all over the balcony. This gave a good opportunity to his lovers to see him during the entire Kumbh day and take his coveted darshan to their heart's content. The Kumbh hours began at about 3 p.m. and ended at 7 p.m. For me, the Ganges was where my beloved Baba was. As such, on that very spot of the Ganges Canal, I took my dips in his name, and with each dip, I again got what I longed for, the darshan of Baba. It was dark enough at 7 p.m., and yet, even in the darkness, I could see the bright form of Baba on the balcony after every dip. My Kumbh pilgrimage was fully rewarded, and my Kumbh bathing was 100% fulfilled. I felt extremely happy and blessed. With the When the special hours of the procession and bathing, Kartik got to graze the in the Ganges were over. Baba left Hardwar by train for Dehradun, passing away of Vishnu's mother. After the party's return to Manjari Mafi the next day, Baba asked some of the companions how they would respond to the news of the passing away of their dear ones. They assured Baba that they would receive this information calmly and with composure. At the end, Baba asked Vishnu how he would feel if his dear mother, staying at Mehrabad, were to drop her body. Vishnu conveyed that the news would not disturb him. At this moment, Baba disclosed that a telegram had been received by Dr. Duncan from Ahmednagar. It said that Kakubai, Vishnu's dear mother, had passed away. Vishnu did not express any outward sign of emotional turmoil. He did not shed any tears. Instead, he attended to all his duties, including marketing. Later on, Baba praised Vishnu's attitude to tolerance and embraced him in appreciation of his even temper and his brave heart. Here,
Uh,
Baba is
uh,
trying to convey that you
I
have to have.
remember, Baba goes to her house and asks her to cook food and feed him. So Baba eats in their house. I think they used to live in Pune, in that center, some center, I forgot, where his father had a tea stall, very close to that.
Jai Baba. Another learning which comes from this is that even if you lose a dear one, you got to have the emotional maturity and keep calm. It's difficult, but that is what is being said by in the previous paragraph.
Indeed. So we can rotate the reading one last time. Ashok ji, thank you for reading. Anybody else who wants to read the last 15, 20 minutes?
Thanks, Karthik. You're welcome,
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Ravi?
Yeah, I can read.
Yeah,
Yeah,
from
Jai
from the
Baba.
first line on the page. Yeah, Jai Baba. Thank you.
Pakubai was an old contact. In 1920, Baba was staying in Kasba Pat at Pune. That was I was thinking about Kasba Pat. He had started gathering the mandali around him, and Vishnu was one of them. He frequently visited Sadasiv Patel's house, where Baba resided. Baba indirectly asked Sadashiv about his young boy. Once, on his own, Baba visited Vishnu's residence. His mother, Kakubai, was at home, and Baba had a good chat with her. As the number of such visits increased, the relationship became more informal and intimate. Sometimes Baba would ask Takubai to prepare certain hot dish called pitla, and he enjoyed having it for lunch with bakri or rice. I wonder what is
And
pitla
bhakri,
is.
pitla is a, a, a
Curry like
side
thing?
dish. Yeah, here it is. It's prepared from gram flour, and bhakri is nothing but the
Millet bread.
millet
Yeah.
bread that's available even in NPR along with chapati as a choice, right? So pitla is just mildly garnished, lightly cooked gram
Hmm.
flour. It's
Okay.
a Maharashtrian dish.
Yeah, it's made of
Right.
basin for those.
Besan, yeah. Gram flour is besan, yeah.
Yeah, that's just
Once,
translate.
when Baba visited the house, he learned that Vishnu had paid a visit to the teacher. Hearing this in the presence of Kakubai, Baba gave him a sound slap, and that turned his cheek red. Vishnu, with
So it
lowered
was
head,
theater.
said no.
So in the previous line, you said teacher, but it's actually theater. So Vishnu had gone to the theater. So that's why he gets slapped.
Theater. Oh, I see. Yeah, yeah, sorry. Sound slap that turned his cheek red. Vishnu, with lowered head, and said nothing. The next moment, Baba said, "If you want to visit the theater, you may do so at any time, but only with my prior consent. And every time you decide to go, do not fail to collect the necessary money from me." And he heartily smiled. Maybe such slaps and pamperings paved and quickened the way for the mandali to surrender to Baba unconditionally. Soon Vishnu left his education and permanently joined Baba. And later, Kakubai stayed as one of Baba's women mandali. Vishnu was her only son. She was deeply grieved when she learned about her son's decision to accompany Baba in his new life. A mother's love for her son is very deep rooted indeed. Vishnu loved his mother immensely, but in one's life with the master, everything has to be forsaken cheerfully, beck and call. The meeting that was adjourned on April 11th was resumed on April 15th. Baba visited the men's quarters before 7 a.m. The points mentioned in the earlier meeting were discussed again from different angles. In addition, Baba informed the companions that he was expecting a cable from Elizabeth Patterson about his forthcoming visit to the United States, and that it would be either 1950 or 1951. At the end of this meeting, he asked Yirich,
So there's
in
a
fact, this
reference.
delayed in April 1950. Okay.
So Baba says 50 or 51. Then finally
50,
he went in.
51,
Yeah.
52.
But
Yeah.
Baba traveled in 52, April 52.
Yeah. At the end of this meeting, he asked Yurich to proceed to Delhi the next day to inquire about suitable accommodations for the Baba party in the capital of India. In connection with the new plan of starting a business, Yurich was to speak to Keki Desai and Harjivan Lal. The work of the meeting was to be continued after Yurich's return from Delhi. Baba was not keeping well. The slightest effort would tire him. Neelu's diary states some companions had become so weak that to send them out to beg for food was out of the question. The remaining companions were somehow managing to pull on the duties entrusted to them. In addition, the weather was windy, cold, and wet. Vishnu suffered from a high fever, and owing to a severe cough, he could not sleep at night. So Neelu had to do the marketing. It was as if the body and mind of each companion were being tested. Loving the God man is living with him. This is an important statement. If you love Baba, that means you are living with him in the company of Avatar. About this time, Rustam as Hansoshia, Ustadji's nephew, came to visit Baba with the intention of joining him as one of his new life companions. He was working for the railways. After studying the new life circulars, he decided to follow Baba and stay with him. He informed his father, who tried to dissuade him from his intention. Rustum had already resigned his post and soon left his town in search of Baba's place of residence. After visiting Hardwar and Motichur, he finally reached Manjri Mafi. He met Pendu, who explained to him that in the new life, Baba did not permit interviews. Rustum said that he was ready to obey Baba implicitly, but with one exception. He feared that Baba would say to him, "Go back home," and he expressed his inability to carry out this particular instruction because he had determined to stay with Baba under any condition. Pandu informed Baba of Rustum's arrival. Baba pointed out that as there was going to be a change in the external aspect of the new life with the introduction of a new plan, the visitor should be told to go back and await the final decision at his hometown. He would be conveyed to him by Baba through a letter after he had a special meeting with his companions. In a depressed mood, Rustum asked Pendu for Baba's darshan. This is not possible, Pendu explained. At the last moment, Baba, however, allowed the visitor to have a glimpse of him from the other side of the road, and it was quite a long distance. Rustum looked at Baba with insatiable eyes, while sweat, while sweet tears of joy and agony partly blurred his vision. He left Manjri Mafi with a heavy heart. Baba did not visit the men's quarters for over 5 hours because of Rustum's presence. Was it so difficult for Baba just to walk over there from the main house? Maybe a visit planned on one's own is not the approach that qualifies a person for his meeting with the God man. It has to be the other way. The meeting can bear fruit only at his choice. Rustum's visit to Manjri Mafi reminds me of a similar incident over 1,000 years earlier. A seeker who felt deeply drawn by the teaching of Prophet Muhammad approached him and expressed a keen desire to stay near him permanently. This person was from Yemen. The following lines in Persian expresses the Prophet's reply to the seeker. Karbao mani darya mani pishamani. Garbi mani pishamani darya mani. When freely translated in English, these lines mean, "O seeker, if you really have me, that is, if you have love for me, in spite of your staying away from me at Yemen, in fact, you will be residing quite close to me. And oh dear, in spite of your living with me in my close vicinity, if you fail to love and obey me, it is tantamount to your staying away from me even further away than Yemen." That is something to note down, right? This is very profound.
Yeah.
With this laconic reply, Muhammad asked the person to return to his homeland. He nevertheless assured him that carrying out his instructions would make him feel strongly the Prophet's presence. It's good to long for the physical presence and company of the God man, but it is not good to seek this against his wish. He expects us to love and obey him and to live in accordance with his teachings. There are some instances when Baba had asked his, there was a, let me finish this and I will say that. Lovers who wished to stay near him permanently, to return home, and to lead a normal life. In Rustum's case, within a fortnight after the above mentioned meeting, he was informed that he should not come to Hardwar, but he was free to lead his life according to the conditions of the new life. He was not allowed either to correspond with Baba or see him in person. Unfathomable are the ways of Baba in dealing with his lovers. Now, I was going to say, uh, mm, Irich's brother, which is named Merwan, right? Merwan. Yeah. There is a video on the YouTube. He said, remembering him in our mind is more important than to be in Baba's presence. Baba mentioned this number of times, it seems. Remembering him is more powerful than being in the presence of God, physical presence.
Interesting.
True. Hmm?
Interesting, but I'm sure it makes sense.
Hmm.
Remembering him and making him part of our lives and living the Baba life is more important than anything else. Yes.
Anything else. And more important than being in Baba's presence.
Yes.
Jai Baba, that's a solace for all of us who have not seen him in this lifetime, and in, internalizing every breath, Baba. I think that's something I always try to remember, that
Hmm.
breath bar in and bar out. That's a very
Hmm.
practical way of
Yeah,
remembering.
I think it's much more clear in Listen Humanity when all these four language Indian people visit. In one of the Baba's visit there, he makes it feel very clear. Shouting Avatar Meher Baba Gachai and bringing all these garlands doesn't mean anything. I will give you God realization right now, provided you love me deeply. Loving me is very, very important. Being in my presence, I'm just remembering what or the I read long time ago. So that has got a lot more deeper aspect of that.
Jai Baba.
Jeba.
So, how could everyone share how they love Baba in their own way, and what is their Baba? How often is he with you, or how often are you with him? Jai Baba, anybody?
I will start. I have recognized I was doing this better some time back. I have not been in remembering Baba as many times as I would like to, and as many times during the course of normal life, right? All the other things in our busy, mundane lives. So I'm working on trying to get back to uh, that in a bigger way. But it's as simple as just remembering his form and sending a little thought to him about him. And that's what I used to do. And another thing is do it also before everything that's of importance. So draw him into the room before important discussion, an important meeting. Draw him before you think that draw him into the conversation or into the context before you get into key conversation at home or whatever, right? Just like that. That's for me.
Jai
Others?
Baba, thank you for sharing. That's nice.
I have an interesting personal information which would like to share now. Every day morning, we have a
It's a
practice
rare
at home.
it's a rare time that Mama shares something personal. So all ears.
Yes. Every day in our home, we keep a silver cup full of milk to God. So that is my work as such. in the morning. And when I go there, I see all the photographs, idols, and other things placed there one by one, and say Jai Baba. I'll say Meher Baba ki Jai.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
And before I do all that, I'll remember the photographs that I treasure of Baba mentally, and then see each of the photographs placed in the puja house with his memory, and then offer the milk to all of them in the form of Meher Baba. This is how I pray to Baba every day.
Jai Baba. Thank you. Thank you, Mamaji, for sharing.
That's wonderful. That's what I do in a temple these days. So I think I
Mm.
might have mentioned this earlier. I do the same. I just go into the temple or any place of worship and just remember Baba and say Avatar
Mm.
Meher Baba ki Jai in Triveni. Thanks for sharing. Very beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank
Let me go next. First thing I do is early in the morning, I wake up and do 1 hour of meditation. And throughout this 1 hour or 1.5 hour, I try to chant Baba's name, trying to bring the Baba's picture. I've been doing this for last maybe 30 years or so. Initially, I had a lot of problem, but over time, especially after my heart operation that I had it 12 years ago, suddenly my things changed for good. You know, before that, I was hardly able to remember, even though I used to sit and meditate. But after my operation, something happened spiritually. I was able to remember continuously, able to focus and do the breathing also along with that. After that, I have some actions, right? Actions means while brushing my teeth, I try to chant Baba's name. I try to say, Baba is brushing, Baba is brushing. While exercising, for sure, I keep chanting Baba's name. I keep chant loudly, you know. Sometimes I go walk outside when the weather is good. We have a trail behind our house, so I walk about 4 miles. Throughout my walk, every 1.5 step, I say Baba, like that. And then while driving, for sure, I chant Baba's name. What else? While riding the elevator, within myself, nobody is there. Within myself, if nobody is there, even on the trail, when nobody is there, I try to chant loudly because this is what Baba suggested. You know, that is the best way to remember to chant loudly, so that we can hear that our own Baba words. And sometimes the mind goes, you know, mind goes here and there. So it helps to direct the mind to remembering Baba. What else? That's how I remember. Jai Baba.
you. That's a lot. Jai
Yeah,
Baba.
yeah, that's quite a bit and very useful
Ye-
ideas.
Yes, very
Yeah.
good.
One
This
more
is our
point is I have a system of counting how many times I'm chanting. For sure, minimum I do 10,000 times a day.
wow. Wow. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
How do you count?
I have my fingers going. You know, at one time when I started it, I used to have a mala, beats, 108 beats. I used to do that. And
Mm-hmm.
later on, my assistant and myself, we took up a project of making this. She used to make beats. She used to make beats and Christian, what is this? Catholic Christians, what do you call that? That's
Rosary,
Rosary.
cross,
Rosary.
rosary,
rosary,
rosary.
rosary. She used to
Yeah.
make rosary and beads, beads for Indians and rosary for Christians, you know. She's an American. And she used to make, and we used to contribute also. And she used to get these kits and then used to make, and whoever wants it, she used to give. And from Hindus, you know, I used to donate. And we used to make small malas, you know, so that we can, while working, I used to have a mala in my pocket, you know, put my hand in my pocket while walking or riding an elevator. going to the car or from one place to the surgery, whatever it is, I used to put my finger in my pocket and used to say Baba, Baba, Baba. Maybe mechanically, but it doesn't matter.
But how
Uh,
do you keep track of 10,000? So you do so many
oh,
in
the
the rosary.
10,000.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Okay, that's an interesting question. Now I'm not carrying mala anymore. Okay. I just
Hmm.
count with my fingers. So my sister Geeta taught me to have a picture. There's so many pictures, right? For
Hmm.
each picture I count 50 times. Each picture. So
That
each time I say Baba Baba 10 times. I have a rhythm 10 times, and I use my fingers, all the notches also. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like that. I use both my hands to count.
wow.
So yeah, I mean, I can, if anybody's interested, I can, we can have a Zoom meeting, and I can show you what I do.
Yeah, you can teach us maybe for the next session. You can teach us how to do it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
why not?
sure. Yeah,
Thank thank you for sharing.
yeah,
Especially
yeah.
the pictures as a counting mechanism. That seems
Yeah,
interesting.
Yeah.
good.
So
Yeah.
Washington pose, okay? Washington pose. Uh, let's open cameras and show our faces. Washington, Washington pose. You know what is Washington pose, right?
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah.
I actually that is the picture I chant, okay?
Oh, you mean the
Because when I first
Washington pose of Baba? Okay, okay. I thought it was
right,
Washington
Oh,
Post.
Washington
what?
The
pose of Baba,
Oh, what? I don't
right? The
know. What
pose
is
of
that?
Baba,
It's the one with the mala, which was done.
sitting on a
Oh,
sitting on a
It's in a
chair,
studio. It
black
was
and
On
shot
the
white.
in a
God sheet.
studio in.
It's on,
Yeah, the one
Washington
in
it's
God
on
D.C.
the God
Speaks.
sheet.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
God
yeah,
Speaks
yeah.
first few pages, and do you know the story of that date?
no.
Mm-mm.
There's a correlation that somebody discovered later that if you take a dollar bill, the dollar bill has the term "In God We Trust," right? That was
Mm.
inserted exactly on the day when Baba was in Washington and that particular photograph was shot. Before that, "In God We Trust" was not part of the Federal Reserve's note. So the Federal Reserve decided to introduce the terms "In God We Trust" literally on the day that photograph was shot and when Baba was physically present in DC.
Oh,
Not a
that's
small surprise. Very interesting.
very
Yeah,
nice.
yeah. But I don't think we went around the whole group and we are out of time. So you should have asked this question earlier.
No problem. There's always tomorrow.
Yes, and we got some interesting inputs. Anybody else before we wrap up?
No, no. I just want 30 seconds. We talked about motichur, so I think we think about motichur ke laddu. So have a good weekend.
Okay,
Jai Baba.
okay.
Jai Baba.
Yeah, sure. On that
That's
sweet note, we
on
can,
a sweet. Yes.
yes, you've made me hungry now. Yes. On that sweet and nice note, let's wrap up.
Yes, with
So
that
great.
moti tour, each grain of that is Baba. So think of Baba so many times and take one moti tour
Motichur.
laddu. Yes.
Wow.
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 That,
Everyone has been transported to a soulful mood. Thank you so
yeah,
much, Mamita ji,
Sure.
for asking the question. And thanks everybody who shared today on their personal remembrances and personal practices to remember Baba more and more. Thank you so
Jai
much.
Baba.
Avtar
Thank
Meher
You.
Baba
Jai
ki
Baba.
jai.
Jai.
you.
Hey, Baba. Hey, Baba.
Baba ki
Jai
jai.
Jai Baba.